In today's fast-paced world, filled with stress and constant change, we're often caught in a whirlwind of negative emotions like anxiety and sadness. But did you know that over 2,000 years ago, Stoic philosophers discovered invaluable principles to help people live in peace and resilience, no matter the challenges? Stoic philosophy teaches that real strength doesn't come from controlling external events, but from mastering our own minds and emotions. When you learn to view obstacles as opportunities, stop enduring imaginary suffering, and accept the impermanence of life, you'll find a profound inner peace and unshakable strength. Are you ready to take on the challenge and unlock the true power within you? Let's explore these incredible Stoic principles and learn to live as though nothing can disturb you anymore. This is the key to a happier, more meaningful life that allows you to become the strongest version of yourself. 1. View obstacles as opportunities. Imagine life as a vast and unpredictable journey, filled with countless twists, turns, and obstacles. Each step forward presents both a challenge and a potential lesson. For most of us, when faced with difficulties, it's natural to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or discouraged. But what if, instead of viewing obstacles as something to avoid or fear, we could see them as opportunities for growth and transformation? What if the very things that block our path could become the tools that propel us forward? This is the essence of Stoic philosophy, turning challenges into sources of strength. The Stoics believed that life, in its entirety, is made up of moments of tension, friction, and obstacles. The great philosopher Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This profound statement suggests that rather than hindering progress, obstacles actually advance us on our path if we choose to see them that way. What stands in our way becomes the very catalyst for action and change. The roadblocks we encounter aren't there to stop us. They're there to teach us how to adapt, grow, and evolve. Consider the life of Jesus, a figure who embodies the power of resilience through hardship. His journey was anything but easy. He was betrayed, misunderstood, and subjected to extreme suffering. Yet, through all of these trials, he not only endured them, but transformed them. Jesus didn't allow his pain to define him or break him. Instead, he used it to teach profound lessons about patience, forgiveness, and compassion. When faced with adversity, Jesus turned each painful experience into an opportunity to guide others toward a higher purpose. His life shows us that even in our deepest struggles, there is the potential for transformation and the chance to become something greater than we were before. This same philosophy can be applied to our own lives. Every challenge, no matter how difficult, has the potential to be a turning point. Take the story of a person who faces failure in their career or personal life. At first, the disappointment and feelings of defeat may seem overwhelming. But if we take a step back and adopt a Stoic mindset, we can see that failure is not the end, but an opportunity to learn, improve, and build resilience. The path forward may not be clear at first, but by viewing obstacles as opportunities, we begin to shift our perspective. Failure becomes a teacher, showing us what doesn't work and pushing us to find new solutions. Similarly, think about someone who is faced with a personal loss, be it the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the loss of a dream. These are some of life's most painful and challenging experiences, and it's normal to grieve. However, through the lens of Stoicism, we can also see that grief, while painful, can open doors to self-discovery and growth. It forces us to confront our vulnerabilities, teaches us about the impermanence of life, and encourages us to appreciate what we have while we still have it. Loss can propel us to live more fully, to love more deeply, and to embrace the fleeting beauty of life. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of controlling our reactions to obstacles. Epictetus, another key Stoic philosopher, taught that while we cannot control external events, we can control how we respond to them. This is where the true power lies. When we view obstacles not as barriers, but as stepping stones, we empower ourselves to take meaningful action. The key is not to resist or avoid the obstacles, but to embrace them, learn from them, and allow them to move us toward personal growth. Think about the times in your life when you've faced seemingly insurmountable challenges. Perhaps you've experienced rejection, loss, or disappointment. At the time, it may have felt like the end of the road. But looking back, you can likely see how those obstacles helped shape you. They forced you to dig deeper, to become stronger, and to rethink your approach. In hindsight, they became the very experiences that propelled you toward success, maturity, or greater understanding. This is the power of Stoicism in action, recognizing that every obstacle carries with it the seed of an opportunity for growth. The ability to turn obstacles into opportunities is not an easy skill to master, but with practice, it becomes second nature. Begin by changing your mindset. When you encounter a challenge, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this difficulty help me grow? By reframing obstacles as opportunities for self-improvement, you shift from a mindset of victimhood to one of empowerment. You stop seeing life as something happening to you and begin to see it as something you are actively shaping through your reactions. In practical terms, this might look like tackling a challenging project at work with the attitude that each setback is an opportunity to learn a new skill or improve your process. It might mean viewing a difficult conversation with a friend or loved one as an opportunity to strengthen your communication skills and deepen your relationship. In every challenge, there is something to be gained, something to be learned, and something to be gained from the experience itself. In conclusion, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that obstacles aren't things to fear or avoid. They are opportunities for growth. Just as the greatest minds in history have faced immense challenges, so too can we learn to see every obstacle as an invitation to become better, stronger, and wiser. So, the next time you encounter a challenge, remember that it may just be the stepping stone that leads you to the next level of your personal journey. What stands in your way becomes the way. 2. Don't suffer imaginary pains. Have you ever found yourself caught in a whirlwind of anxiety, consumed by the fear of something that hasn't even happened yet? We all know what it's like to worry about an exam, an important meeting, or a difficult conversation. In those moments, it often feels as if the weight of the world is on our shoulders. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, are these fears based on reality, or am I suffering from something that exists only in my imagination? This is a key teaching of Stoic philosophy. Much of our pain does not stem from external events, but from the way we choose to interpret them. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, argued that we are not disturbed by events, but by the views which we take of them. This simple yet powerful insight reminds us that it's not the events themselves that cause us distress, but rather our thoughts about those events. Often, we allow ourselves to become prisoners of our own imagination, creating scenarios of suffering that are far worse than reality ever turns out to be. Consider the last time you felt anxious about something. Perhaps you had an important presentation coming up, or you were about to face a difficult conversation with a colleague or a loved one. How many times did you replay the situation in your mind, imagining every possible negative outcome? Maybe you worried about failing, being judged, or saying the wrong thing. And yet, when the moment actually arrived, how often did things go as badly as you feared? More often than not, reality is much less daunting than the scenarios we concoct in our minds. The Stoics understood that we often suffer more from our imaginations than from real challenges. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote in his letters, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." It's easy to get caught up in the cycle of worrying about things that haven't happened yet, but this only drains our energy and peace of mind. The more we focus on hypothetical scenarios, the more we intensify our own suffering. But if we can learn to recognize when our fears are based on imagination rather than reality, we can free ourselves from unnecessary pain. Think about it. How much time and energy have you spent in your life worrying about things that never came to pass? Perhaps you spent days or even weeks dreading an event, only to realize when it came, it was not nearly as bad as you imagined. You may have been nervous about something as simple as an upcoming job interview, only to find that the interviewer was kind and understanding. Or maybe you had an intense fear of public speaking, only to discover that the audience was supportive and engaged. These experiences show us that the stories we tell ourselves in our minds are often far more distressing than the truth. The key to overcoming this tendency lies in focusing on the present moment. Instead of allowing your mind to spiral into catastrophic scenarios, direct your attention to what is actually happening in the here and now. Ask yourself, what is the next step I can take? What is in front of me that requires my attention right now? By grounding yourself in the present, you can break free from the grip of imaginary pains and focus on the actions that will help you move forward. This approach is not about ignoring potential challenges or being naive, but rather about acknowledging that most of our fears are based on assumptions, not facts. One of the best tools for managing this kind of anxiety is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us stay aware of our thoughts and feelings without getting swept up in them. It allows us to observe our worries from a distance, recognizing them for what they are, transient mental events that often have no basis in reality. By practicing mindfulness, we can train our minds to stay anchored in the present, where the fears of tomorrow have no power. For example, if you find yourself anxious about an upcoming test or presentation, instead of imagining worst-case scenarios, focus on the task at hand. Break the preparation down into manageable steps and tackle each one as it comes. By doing so, you not only reduce the imaginary suffering, but you also empower yourself to take positive action. The fear that once seemed overwhelming will begin to lose its grip as you take control of your thoughts and actions. It's also important to challenge your assumptions when you feel anxiety creeping in. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have to support my fear? Is this fear based on facts, or is it an exaggeration of what might happen? More often than not, when we examine our fears rationally, we find that they are not as solid as they seem. Stoics taught us that our ability to distinguish between what is real and what is imagined is crucial to our well-being. By learning to question our fears, we stop them from controlling our lives. Let's also consider a simple example: the fear of a difficult conversation. Many of us experience stress before having tough talks with others, whether it's discussing a sensitive issue at work or expressing our feelings to a loved one. Often, the fear comes from imagining the worst possible outcome: rejection, anger, or conflict. But in reality, these conversations often go better than we expect, and sometimes they even strengthen relationships. When we focus on the present moment and remain open, we free ourselves from the suffering of what-ifs. To sum up, one of the greatest gifts of Stoic philosophy is the ability to separate reality from imagination. When we stop letting our minds run wild with imagined fears, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Rather than worrying about things that haven't happened yet, we focus on what is in front of us and take each moment as it comes. By doing so, we can cultivate a sense of peace and resilience that allows us to face life's challenges with confidence and clarity. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, do not be disturbed by things outside your control. It's the things inside our own minds that often cause the most distress. And by controlling them, we regain our peace of mind. 3. Embrace impermanence. Life is constantly shifting, like a river that never ceases its flow. At times, it can be overwhelming to realize how transient everything is: our emotions, our relationships, even our very existence. We are often inclined to seek permanence in a world that is, by nature, in a state of constant flux. But what if the key to peace and fulfillment lies not in resisting change, but in embracing it? Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." This profound observation is a reminder that all things we experience are shaped by our own perceptions, which are, by their very nature, temporary and mutable. Just as our thoughts and feelings evolve, so too do the circumstances of our lives. Nothing, not the joys or sorrows, the successes or failures, lasts forever. When we resist this natural flow of life, we create unnecessary suffering. We hold on to things we wish would stay the same: a fleeting moment of happiness, a cherished relationship, or even our health. And in doing so, we set ourselves up for disappointment when they inevitably change. It is only by accepting the impermanence of life that we can release our grip on the things we cannot control and find the peace that comes with embracing change. Take, for example, the changing seasons. Just as the leaves fall in autumn and the flowers bloom in spring, our lives go through cycles of growth, decline, and renewal. At times, we may find ourselves at the peak of success, enjoying a time of abundance and joy. At other moments, we may face hardship, loss, or struggle. Yet, just as the seasons never remain in one phase, neither do our lives. Even in the darkest moments, change is on the horizon, and with it, the potential for new beginnings. The Stoics taught us that the key to peace is not in clinging to the past or worrying about the future, but in accepting the impermanence of all things and living fully in the present. Seneca, another influential Stoic philosopher, wrote, "Time heals what the years cannot." When we understand that change is the one constant in life, we can release the need for control and allow ourselves to flow with the current. Let's consider the example of a tree in the forest. When a tree sheds its leaves in the fall, it does not mourn their loss. It understands that the season is changing and that this cycle of letting go is a natural part of its growth. Similarly, we must learn to let go of what no longer serves us, trusting that each phase of our lives is a necessary part of our journey. This doesn't mean we should passively accept everything that happens to us or become indifferent to life's challenges. Rather, it means recognizing that everything, both good and bad, is temporary. And by embracing this impermanence, we can navigate life's ups and downs with greater resilience. The Stoic practice of focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, our responses, helps us to remain grounded even in the face of uncertainty. One of the most profound ways to embrace impermanence is to practice gratitude. When we recognize that all moments, both joyous and painful, are fleeting, we learn to appreciate them more fully. We understand that each moment is a gift, a chance to experience life in its full spectrum, and that no moment, no matter how difficult, will last forever. In doing so, we can find beauty in the transient nature of existence. Imagine you are enjoying a beautiful sunset. If you hold on to the thought that it should last forever, you may find yourself frustrated when the sun inevitably sets, taking the beauty with it. But if you allow yourself to fully appreciate the moment as it is, knowing that its impermanence makes it all the more precious, you can experience a deeper sense of fulfillment and peace. The same principle applies to all aspects of life. When we stop clinging to the idea that things should never change, we can fully experience and appreciate the present moment for what it is. Furthermore, embracing impermanence also allows us to approach loss with greater equanimity. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the closing of a chapter in our lives, acceptance of impermanence helps us navigate these transitions with grace. We learn that it is not the loss itself that causes the most pain, but our resistance to the natural flow of life. When we let go and accept that all things must eventually change, we can move forward without being weighed down by regret or fear. This mindset also frees us from the burden of attachment. While it's natural to form attachments to people, places, and things, Stoic philosophy teaches us that these attachments can be sources of suffering when we depend on them for our happiness. By recognizing that nothing lasts forever, we can enjoy these things without becoming overly reliant on them for our sense of fulfillment. We learn to cherish the moments we have, while also remaining open to the changes that life brings. In practice, embracing impermanence means accepting that life is a series of moments, each one precious because it is fleeting. We no longer try to hold on to the past or fear the future, but instead focus on living fully in the present. This acceptance allows us to cultivate a deeper sense of peace as we let go of our attachments and trust that the flow of life with all its changes is exactly as it should be. In the end, the wisdom of the Stoics teaches us that impermanence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. By accepting that everything is temporary, we find freedom from the anxiety that comes with trying to control what is beyond our reach. When we let go of our need for permanence, we open ourselves up to the beauty of life's ever-changing journey. As Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, the universe is change, life is opinion. When we embrace change and accept the impermanence of all things, we align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe, and in doing so, we find true peace. 4. Master the art of letting go. Life is full of uncertainties, and not all of them are within our control. We encounter loss, experience failure, and face challenges that seem insurmountable. These moments can feel overwhelming, and we often try to cling to what we know or what we've lost, hoping that by holding on, we can somehow reverse the inevitable. But the wisdom of Stoicism teaches us that letting go is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it's an act of strength. It's about recognizing our limits and releasing our attachment to things outside our control. The Stoics believe that true peace of mind comes not from controlling every aspect of life, but from accepting what we cannot change. In their view, the only things truly within our control are our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions. Everything else, including external events, other people's behavior, and even time itself, is beyond our influence. By constantly battling to hold on to things that are out of our hands, we not only waste our energy, but also subject ourselves to unnecessary suffering. Consider the example of a tree that loses its leaves in winter. It doesn't fight the cold or wish it could keep its foliage. Instead, it accepts the cycle of nature, knowing that after the harsh winter, new leaves will grow. Life, too, is a series of cycles. There will be moments of success and periods of struggle, times of joy and times of sorrow. But when we learn to let go, we allow ourselves to move freely through these cycles without the burden of resisting what cannot be changed. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming indifferent. It doesn't mean that we stop caring about people, goals, or dreams. On the contrary, it means that we recognize that we can only control how we respond to the events of our lives. By letting go of the need to control every outcome, we free ourselves from the stress and anxiety that come from trying to force things to happen a certain way. Take, for example, a failed project or a lost opportunity. It's natural to feel disappointed or frustrated when things don't go as planned. However, if we become overly attached to the idea of success or the expectation that things should have turned out differently, we may find ourselves stuck in regret. The art of letting go involves accepting the situation as it is, without attaching negative emotions or thoughts to it. When we let go of the need for perfection or the desire to control the outcome, we create space for growth, learning, and new opportunities. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This is the essence of letting go, recognizing that our power lies not in changing the external world, but in shaping our internal world. When we release our attachment to specific outcomes, we stop giving our peace of mind away to the whims of fate. We learn to embrace uncertainty with resilience, knowing that even in failure, there is a lesson to be learned. And in loss, there is room for something new to emerge. Letting go also means releasing the past. Many of us hold on to old wounds, grudges, or regrets, letting them dictate how we feel and how we interact with others. But when we carry the weight of past pain, we remain anchored in what has already happened, unable to move forward. The Stoic practice of letting go encourages us to free ourselves from the past and focus on what we can do today. It doesn't mean we forget or disregard the lessons we've learned, but it means we stop letting those experiences define who we are or limit our potential. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself repeatedly to focus on the present moment. Don't waste time on what you can't control, but work with what you have right now. This is a powerful call to let go of the past and future and to center ourselves in the present. When we let go of past regrets and future anxieties, we create space to fully experience the here and now, free from the distractions of what once was or what might be. Another essential aspect of letting go is releasing the need for approval from others. Many of us seek validation or approval from the people around us, whether it's in our personal relationships or professional endeavors. This external validation can become a trap, where our happiness is contingent on others' opinions or expectations. But by letting go of the need for constant approval, we take back control of our own self-worth. We learn to define our value not by the judgments of others, but by our own standards and integrity. The act of letting go also involves trusting that life has its own way of unfolding. While we can set goals and work toward achieving them, it's essential to recognize that the journey may not always go as planned. Sometimes, the very things we think we need or want may not be what's best for us. By letting go of rigid expectations and embracing the flow of life, we allow room for unexpected blessings and opportunities to appear. It's important to remember that letting go is a process, not an event. It takes practice and patience. Just like learning any new skill, it requires consistency and awareness. The more we practice letting go of the things we can't control, the more we free ourselves from the unnecessary burdens that hold us back. With time, we begin to cultivate a sense of inner peace that comes from knowing we are not bound by circumstances, but by our own ability to choose how we respond to them. In essence, mastering the art of letting go is about creating space. Space for peace, space for growth, and space for new possibilities. When we release our attachment to what no longer serves us, we open ourselves to the flow of life, ready to embrace what comes next. By letting go of what we cannot change, we invite in what we truly need. And in doing so, we align ourselves with the wisdom of the Stoics. That peace comes not from controlling the world around us, but from mastering the art of letting go. 5. Practice daily reflection. In the fast-paced world we live in, it's easy to rush through each day without taking a moment to pause and reflect. Yet one of the most powerful practices that Stoic philosophers recommend is daily reflection. By setting aside time to reflect on our actions, thoughts, and emotions at the end of each day, we allow ourselves to learn and grow from our experiences. This practice not only helps us to become more self-aware, but it also encourages personal growth, helping us to improve continuously. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, understood the importance of daily reflection. In his meditations, he frequently writes about looking inward and examining his own behavior. For instance, he reflects on how he could have acted differently in a given situation, how his judgments might have been flawed, and how he could strive to be a better person tomorrow. This daily practice allowed him to sharpen his mind, strengthen his character, and refine his approach to life. Reflection gives us the opportunity to step back and evaluate not just our external actions, but also our internal reactions. How often do we find ourselves reacting impulsively, driven by emotions like anger, fear, or frustration? Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot always control the events around us, we can control how we respond to them. By reflecting on our responses at the end of each day, we begin to understand our triggers and patterns. Over time, this awareness helps us to cultivate more measured and thoughtful reactions, guiding us toward better decisions in the future. One of the primary benefits of daily reflection is that it helps us confront our mistakes. We all make them. It's an inevitable part of being human. But instead of shying away from our errors or pretending they didn't happen, Stoicism encourages us to face them head-on. When we reflect on our mistakes, we can learn from them, identify the underlying causes, and decide how to avoid repeating them. By acknowledging our flaws, we take responsibility for them, and this leads to growth. The Stoics were not concerned with self-criticism for the sake of guilt or shame, but rather with constructive self-examination that leads to self-improvement. They believed that every experience, whether positive or negative, is an opportunity to learn. For instance, if we make a mistake at work or in a relationship, reflecting on it can help us understand what went wrong and what we could do differently next time. This process of self-reflection helps us to avoid repeating the same mistakes and gradually build wisdom over time. On the other hand, reflection also allows us to recognize our strengths. It's easy to overlook our own achievements, especially in the rush of everyday life. But by reflecting on our day, we can acknowledge the moments when we acted in alignment with our values, when we handled challenges well, or when we showed kindness and patience. Recognizing these positive actions not only boosts our morale, but it also reinforces the behaviors we want to continue cultivating. Daily reflection is not just about looking back, it's also about setting intentions for the future. When we reflect on what went well and what could be improved, we can make a conscious effort to adjust our behavior moving forward. For example, if we notice that we lost our temper in a stressful situation, we can make a commitment to practice patience the next time a similar challenge arises. Reflection allows us to refine our approach to life continuously, turning each day into an opportunity to grow and improve. One effective way to practice daily reflection is to keep a journal. Writing down your thoughts at the end of each day helps to organize your experiences and emotions. It's a simple yet powerful way to gain clarity, process the events of the day, and reflect on your growth. Take a few minutes each evening to jot down what happened, how you responded, and what you learned. You might even want to ask yourself questions like, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? How did I react to challenges, and was it in line with my values? These questions guide you toward a deeper understanding of your actions and your emotional responses. Another valuable aspect of daily reflection is that it encourages gratitude. In our busy lives, it's easy to focus on what we lack or what went wrong. But reflection allows us to take a step back and recognize the blessings and positive moments in our lives. Stoic philosophers were masters at finding gratitude even in difficult circumstances. They believed that by focusing on what we do have rather than what we don't, we cultivate contentment and inner peace. Take a moment each day to acknowledge what you're thankful for, no matter how small. It might be a kind word from a friend, a moment of beauty in nature, or a task completed well at work. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to negativity, and the more we practice it, the more we shift our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant in our lives. Incorporating daily reflection into your routine doesn't have to be a time-consuming task. It can be as simple as taking a few minutes before bed to quietly review the events of your day. The key is consistency, making reflection a regular practice rather than something you only do sporadically. Over time, you will begin to notice subtle shifts in your mindset. You'll become more mindful of your actions and emotions, and you'll approach each day with a greater sense of purpose and clarity. Reflection also deepens our understanding of ourselves and our values. By regularly checking in with ourselves, we can ensure that we are living in alignment with what truly matters to us. It serves as a reminder to stay true to our principles, to continue growing, and to move forward with intention. The Stoics taught that life is not just about surviving, but about becoming better versions of ourselves each day. Practicing daily reflection helps us move closer to that ideal. It's a tool that allows us to look at our lives through a clearer lens, guiding us toward wisdom, virtue, and peace of mind. 6. Nurture inner peace. In the chaos of life, finding inner peace often feels like an elusive goal, something that only a lucky few seem to experience. Yet, the Stoics believe that inner peace is not a gift bestowed upon us by chance, but a state that we actively cultivate through consistent effort and mindful practices. This peace comes not from avoiding the difficulties of life, but from learning how to respond to them with calmness, clarity, and resilience. One of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy is the idea that we cannot control the external events that happen to us, but we can control how we respond to those events. Epictetus, another influential Stoic philosopher, famously said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." In other words, while we may not be able to control what happens in the world around us, whether it's a stressful work situation, an unexpected loss, or an argument with a friend, we can choose how we approach those challenges. Nurturing inner peace means understanding that our reactions to external events are within our control. We can choose to let them disturb us, or we can choose to maintain composure, seeing these challenges as opportunities for growth. This doesn't mean suppressing our emotions or pretending that everything is fine when it's not. Instead, it's about developing the emotional strength to pause, reflect, and respond in a way that is aligned with our values and brings us peace, even in the face of adversity. One powerful way to nurture inner peace is through mindfulness. By being present in the moment, we can avoid being swept away by worries about the future or regrets about the past. So much of our suffering stems from our tendency to dwell on things we cannot change, whether it's ruminating over past mistakes or anxiously anticipating what might happen tomorrow. Stoic practices encourage us to let go of these distractions and focus on the present, where we have the power to act and to choose our responses. Another key aspect of nurturing inner peace is learning to let go of the need for external validation. In our modern world, we often measure our worth by how others perceive us. We seek approval, chase success, and worry about how we are judged. But the Stoics remind us that true peace comes from within, not from external sources. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By shifting our focus away from seeking validation from others, we can cultivate a sense of self-worth that is rooted in our own values, not in the opinions of others. This allows us to remain grounded and peaceful. regardless of the external circumstances. When we stop measuring our happiness by how others treat us or by how successful we are in the eyes of society, we free ourselves from the pressures that often cause stress and anxiety. The Stoics also emphasized the importance of simplicity in finding peace. We live in a world filled with distractions, material possessions, social media, endless to-do lists that often pull us away from what really matters. Stoic wisdom teaches that the more we simplify our lives, the more we can focus on what truly brings us happiness and fulfillment. This might mean minimizing our possessions, cutting out unnecessary commitments, or focusing on the relationships that matter most. By embracing simplicity, we create space in our lives for peace, stillness, and contentment. Another Stoic practice that supports inner peace is the idea of acceptance. Life is filled with uncertainties and challenges, and many of them are beyond our control. Instead of fighting against the things we cannot change, Stoicism encourages us to accept them with grace. This doesn't mean passivity or resignation. Rather, it means recognizing that we can't control everything and learning to adapt. When we accept things as they are, we release ourselves from the burden of frustration and disappointment, making room for peace and tranquility. One of the most profound ways to nurture inner peace is through gratitude. It's easy to focus on what we don't have, what we wish were different, or the difficulties we're currently facing. But practicing gratitude, even for the smallest things, can help shift our mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. The Stoics believe that gratitude is a powerful tool for cultivating peace of mind. By regularly acknowledging the blessings in our lives, we become more content with what we have, reducing the urge to compare ourselves to others or chase after fleeting desires. To practice gratitude, take a moment each day to reflect on the things you are thankful for. It could be something as simple as a kind gesture from a friend, a beautiful moment in nature, or the warmth of your home. By focusing on these positive aspects of life, we train our minds to appreciate what we have, rather than focusing on what we lack. Over time, this practice can significantly reduce feelings of anxiety and dissatisfaction, bringing us closer to the inner peace we seek. Ultimately, nurturing inner peace is about embracing a mindset of acceptance, mindfulness, and simplicity. It's about recognizing that, while we can't control the storms that come our way, we can learn to navigate them with calmness and grace. The more we practice these Stoic principles, focusing on what we can control, simplifying our lives, and finding peace in the present moment, the more we will cultivate a deep sense of inner peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. In a world that often pulls us in many directions, nurturing inner peace becomes a radical act of self-care. It's about choosing to protect our minds and hearts from the chaos around us, creating space for clarity, serenity, and joy. With time and dedication, inner peace becomes not just a goal, but a way of living, one that brings a sense of balance and tranquility to even the most challenging circumstances. 7. Build resilience through adversity. Life is unpredictable, and adversity is an inevitable part of the human experience. Whether it's personal loss, financial hardship, or unexpected failures, the challenges we face can feel overwhelming. Yet, one of the most profound teachings of Stoic philosophy is that adversity is not something to be feared or avoided. Rather, it is an opportunity for growth. Stoics believe that resilience, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and remain steadfast in the face of difficulty, is built through our experiences with adversity. In the Stoic worldview, challenges are not obstacles to happiness, but rather essential elements of a fulfilling life. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." This idea suggests that, just as physical strength is built through resistance and exercise, mental and emotional strength are developed by confronting life's challenges head-on. Instead of retreating from adversity, we must embrace it, knowing that every hardship offers us the opportunity to cultivate resilience and wisdom. Resilience is not an inherent trait that some people are born with and others are not. It is a skill that can be developed, practiced, and refined over time. The Stoics understood that the key to building resilience is not to avoid pain or difficulty, but to change our relationship with it. Rather than seeing adversity as a threat, we are encouraged to view it as an essential part of our growth. It is through the struggles we face that we learn who we truly are and what we are capable of. When faced with a difficult situation, we often experience fear, anger, frustration, or even despair. These emotions are natural, but Stoicism teaches us not to be ruled by them. The first step in building resilience is to acknowledge these emotions without letting them control our actions. We can recognize that feelings of pain or discomfort are temporary and that we have the power to endure and persevere through them. By accepting the existence of these emotions, but refusing to let them dictate our responses, we can begin to regain control of our minds and actions. A key Stoic practice that helps build resilience is reframing our perspective on adversity. When faced with a challenge, it's easy to focus on the negative aspects of the situation, the injustice, the unfairness, or the hardships it brings. However, Stoicism encourages us to shift our perspective and ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can this adversity help me grow? By changing our mindset, we begin to see challenges not as burdens to bear, but as opportunities for self-development and self-improvement. Consider the example of the ancient Roman emperor Marcus Aurelius, who faced countless personal and political challenges throughout his life. Despite being constantly at war, enduring the deaths of loved ones, and dealing with political strife, Marcus wrote in his Meditations that these challenges were an integral part of his development as a leader and as a person. He didn't see them as mere misfortunes, but as tests that refined his character and strengthened his resilience. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, he famously wrote. This mindset, viewing obstacles as opportunities, is central to building resilience. It means recognizing that adversity is not just something to endure, but something to learn from and use to fuel our growth. By reframing challenges in this way, we transform ourselves from passive victims of circumstance into active agents of change in our own lives. Another powerful Stoic practice for building resilience is to embrace the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. This idea encourages us to accept everything that happens to us, both good and bad, as necessary parts of our journey. Instead of fighting against the things we cannot control, we are taught to love and welcome them, knowing that they are all contributing to our development. When we adopt this mindset, we can face adversity with a sense of acceptance and even gratitude, seeing each challenge as an integral part of our path to self-mastery. Building resilience also requires a commitment to endurance and perseverance. The Stoics believed that true strength is not in avoiding difficulties, but in enduring them with grace and determination. This is where the practice of patience comes in. Often, the hardest challenges we face take time to resolve, and the path to overcoming them is not always quick or easy. Yet, by embracing patience and persistence, we develop the mental toughness necessary to keep going, even when the road ahead seems long or uncertain. One of the most important aspects of resilience is maintaining a sense of hope, even in the darkest of times. The Stoics recognized that life is filled with suffering, but they also understood that suffering is never permanent. Everything in life, both good and bad, is temporary. The storms will eventually pass, and better days will come. By holding on to this truth, we can endure the hardest trials with the knowledge that they will not last forever. The practice of daily reflection, another key Stoic principle, can also help us build resilience. By reflecting on our experiences each day, we can identify areas where we have struggled and where we have succeeded. This helps us build self-awareness, recognize our strengths, and learn from our mistakes. When we reflect on past challenges, we realize that we have already overcome many obstacles in our lives, and that we have the inner strength to face whatever comes our way. Finally, it's important to remember that resilience does not mean doing everything on our own. The Stoics believed in the value of community and support, and building resilience also involves reaching out for help when needed. We don't have to face adversity alone. There is strength in seeking support from others, whether it's through friends, family, or a larger community. Ultimately, resilience is a practice, one that requires us to continuously confront challenges, reflect on our responses, and adjust our mindset. Through adversity, we grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling whatever life throws our way. By following the teachings of Stoic philosophy, we learn that resilience is not something we are born with, but something we can cultivate over time. Each challenge we face becomes an opportunity to build our inner strength, and with every step we take on this journey, we become more resilient in the face of life's inevitable difficulties. 8. Don't create unnecessary frustrations. We've all experienced moments when something small, seemingly insignificant, gets under our skin and disrupts our peace of mind. It might be a misplaced comment from a colleague, a delay in your daily schedule, or something as trivial as a rainy day ruining your plans. In these moments, we often feel a surge of frustration, as though the world has conspired against us. But have you ever stopped to question, are these frustrations truly as bad as they feel, or are we exaggerating their significance in our minds? The Stoics remind us that much of the frustration we experience in life is not caused by external events themselves, but by our reactions to them. It is our perception, our interpretation of these events, that turns a minor inconvenience into a major source of distress. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely taught, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the views which we take of things." This suggests that we have the power to change the way we perceive the events in our lives, and in doing so, we can prevent unnecessary frustration from arising. Frustration is often a product of our expectations. We expect things to go smoothly, people to act in a certain way, or situations to unfold according to our plan. When reality deviates from these expectations, we feel a sense of injustice or irritation. But life is unpredictable, and the Stoics understood that it is not our job to control everything that happens to us. Our responsibility lies in how we respond to these events. If we continue to hold rigid expectations and react emotionally when things don't go as planned, we are setting ourselves up for frustration. To avoid creating unnecessary frustration, we must first become aware of how much of our distress comes from within. Often, we blow small issues out of proportion, allowing them to hijack our peace of mind. A colleague's offhand comment, a delay in traffic, or a rainy day can all seem like minor annoyances, but when we give them too much mental energy, they can grow into sources of anger or disappointment. The key to managing these frustrations is perspective. When we find ourselves frustrated by something trivial, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, is this truly a problem, or am I making it worse in my mind? By stepping back and questioning the validity of our emotional response, we can regain a sense of control over how we react. In many cases, we'll find that the issue is far less significant than it initially seemed. A powerful Stoic exercise to combat unnecessary frustration is the practice of premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This involves mentally preparing ourselves for the possibility that things may not go as planned and that challenges or frustrations are inevitable. By anticipating potential obstacles in advance, we can cultivate a mindset of acceptance and readiness, reducing the likelihood of becoming upset when things don't go according to our desires. When we accept that not everything will unfold perfectly, we reduce the emotional impact of unexpected events. Another way to minimize frustration is by practicing gratitude. When we focus on what is going well rather than what is going wrong, we shift our attention away from potential sources of frustration. The Stoics believed that gratitude helps to center our minds on what truly matters and keeps us grounded in the present moment. Instead of complaining about a rainstorm ruining your picnic, you might focus on the fact that you have shelter, warmth, and the opportunity to enjoy time with friends or family. By cultivating this attitude of appreciation, we make it easier to let go of frustrations that would otherwise seem significant. We can also remind ourselves of the larger perspective. Life is full of setbacks and inconveniences, but most of them are temporary and trivial in the grand scheme of things. By adopting the long view, we are less likely to get caught up in small, fleeting moments of frustration. When faced with a frustrating situation, consider how it will seem a year from now, a month from now, or even a day from now. Often, we find that what once felt like a huge issue is nothing more than a blip on the radar of our lives. One of the most powerful tools for reducing frustration is practicing mindfulness and awareness in the present moment. Often, we create frustration by dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. A negative interaction from earlier in the day might linger in our minds, or anxiety about upcoming events might cause unnecessary tension. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus only on what is happening right now, and to let go of concerns that do not serve us in the present moment. When we embrace the present, we stop feeding our frustrations and allow ourselves to experience peace and contentment, regardless of external circumstances. In moments of frustration, it can also be helpful to ask ourselves, what is within my control? This is a central Stoic question. Often, frustration arises when we try to control things that are beyond our influence. By focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and reactions, we empower ourselves to respond to challenges calmly and with clarity. When we let go of the need to control the uncontrollable, we free ourselves from the chains of frustration. Ultimately, Stoicism teaches us that many of the frustrations we experience in life are self-created. By cultivating awareness of our emotional responses, adjusting our expectations, and learning to let go of trivial concerns, we can prevent unnecessary frustrations from taking root. As we practice this mindset, we become less prone to emotional outbursts and more adept at navigating life's ups and downs with equanimity and grace. In doing so, we find ourselves more resilient, more peaceful, and more at ease with the unpredictable nature of life. 9. Focus on how you act rather than desired outcomes. In a world that often measures success by the end result, Stoic philosophy offers a refreshing perspective. It's not the outcome that truly matters, but how we approach and carry out our actions along the way. This principle emphasizes the importance of focusing on our efforts and behaviors, rather than becoming overly fixated on the specific results we hope to achieve. When we direct our energy toward how we act, we not only free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to control every aspect of the outcome, but we also build the emotional resilience to face whatever comes our way with poise. Think about the last time you were deeply invested in a goal, whether it was a project at work, a personal achievement, or even a relationship. Chances are, you were focused on the end result, how successful the outcome would be, or how much recognition you would receive. While it's natural to desire success, the Stoics would advise you to shift your focus from the destination to the journey itself. The ancient philosopher Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This quote underscores the Stoic belief that we cannot control everything that happens in life, but we can control how we respond. When we focus on the process, how we act in each moment, we take full ownership of our actions and allow ourselves to approach life's challenges with greater clarity and calmness. Let's take a closer look at why focusing on how you act is so important. When we place too much emphasis on the desired outcome, we often set ourselves up for disappointment. After all, no matter how hard we try, some factors are simply out of our control, whether it's external circumstances, other people's actions, or random events. Focusing solely on the outcome can lead to frustration and stress, as we might find ourselves unable to influence everything that happens. But when we shift our attention to the process, to how we show up and give our best effort, we can find satisfaction in knowing that we did everything within our power to handle the situation well. Take, for example, a person preparing for a job interview. If their sole focus is on landing the job, they may become anxious about what the interviewer thinks, how well they answer each question, or whether they'll be chosen over other candidates. But if their attention shifts to how they approach the interview, staying calm, being authentic, listening carefully, and responding thoughtfully, they can relieve much of the anxiety surrounding the process. Whether they get the job or not becomes secondary, as they can find pride in having handled the situation with composure and integrity. By focusing on how we act, we also gain greater emotional control. When we become too attached to a particular outcome, our emotions often fluctuate based on how things are unfolding. If things go as planned, we may feel elated, but if they don't, we may feel devastated or frustrated. But when we center our attention on the quality of our actions, on doing our best, regardless of the outcome, we become less dependent on external circumstances for our sense of well-being. This mindset allows us to approach challenges with a calm and steady demeanor, unshaken by the ups and downs of life. Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca both emphasized the importance of focusing on what is within our control, and our actions are the most immediate and controllable aspects of our lives. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reminded himself to stay true to his values, no matter the outcome. His focus was always on carrying out his duties with wisdom, courage, and integrity, rather than worrying about how others would perceive him or whether his efforts would lead to success. In the context of everyday life, this idea can be applied to countless situations. Take a difficult conversation with a loved one, for example. You can't control how they will respond, but you can control how you communicate, whether you listen attentively, whether you speak with kindness, and whether you maintain your calm even in the face of tension. Your focus should be on these actions, not on whether the conversation will go exactly as you hope. By doing so, you create a foundation of trust and understanding, regardless of the immediate outcome. Focusing on your actions also cultivates patience. In a world that prioritizes instant results, we often feel the pressure to see immediate progress, whether in our personal growth, career, or relationships. However, the Stoic approach teaches that true growth happens gradually and steadily. When you focus on how you act, you embrace the process of improvement, knowing that results may take time to manifest. This shift in perspective allows you to remain patient, trusting that your efforts will bear fruit in due time. Furthermore, when we focus on how we act, we nurture a sense of self-respect. Success in life is often not defined by what we achieve, but by how we conduct ourselves along the way. By prioritizing integrity, effort, and a positive attitude, we can cultivate self-respect and pride, regardless of the outcome. In this sense, Stoic philosophy teaches us that success is not just about what we get, but who we become in the process. Ultimately, by focusing on how we act, we free ourselves from the pressure of chasing outcomes and allow ourselves to find contentment in the effort itself. This shift in mindset not only helps us manage our emotions and stay calm during challenging times, but also strengthens our resilience. We stop chasing external validation and instead focus on living in accordance with our values, knowing that how we act is the truest measure of success. So the next time you find yourself preoccupied with a desired outcome, remember the Stoic wisdom. The goal is not the destination, but the way you travel. By focusing on your actions and cultivating a mindset of effort over result, you can navigate life's challenges with greater peace of mind, self-mastery, and a deep sense of fulfillment. 10. Prioritize reason over emotion. In the chaos of life, it's easy to be swept away by our emotions. Frustration when things don't go as planned, anger when we feel wronged, or fear when faced with uncertainty. Stoic philosophy, however, teaches us the profound wisdom of prioritizing reason over emotion. While emotions are a natural part of the human experience, they can cloud our judgment and lead to impulsive actions that we may later regret. Reason, on the other hand, offers us clarity and calmness, allowing us to make thoughtful decisions, even in the midst of challenging circumstances. The Stoics understood that while we cannot always control the emotions we feel, we do have the power to control how we respond to them. Emotions often arise quickly and without warning, triggered by external events or our own thoughts. However, Stoic philosophers believed that we should not allow ourselves to be ruled by these emotions. Instead, they advocated for pausing and taking a step back to engage our rational minds before reacting. One of the key Stoic practices is the idea of the pause. Before making decisions, especially in moments of intense emotion, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what is the most reasonable response to this situation? What is within my control, and how can I approach this in a way that aligns with my values and principles? By taking this brief moment of pause, you give yourself the space to make decisions based on reason, rather than the fleeting impulses of the moment. Let's consider an example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with a colleague or a friend. Emotions are running high. You feel angry, misunderstood, and ready to defend yourself. In this moment, it's easy to let your emotions dictate your actions, perhaps saying something harsh or acting in a way that could escalate the situation. But if you practice the Stoic art of pausing and prioritizing reason, you might choose to take a deep breath, calm your mind, and respond thoughtfully. Instead of retaliating with anger, you could ask questions to understand the other person's perspective, express your feelings calmly, and focus on finding a solution. In doing so, you avoid saying something you'll regret and approach the situation with clarity and composure. Reason also helps us see things from a broader perspective. Emotions, especially in the heat of the moment, often narrow our focus and exaggerate the severity of the situation. Our minds can become clouded with fear, anger, or frustration, making it difficult to think clearly. Reason allows us to step back and assess the situation with a sense of detachment, helping us to see the bigger picture and respond more effectively. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If we let our emotions dictate our thoughts and actions, we may allow temporary feelings to cloud our judgment, leading to decisions that do not serve our long-term well-being. In addition, reason empowers us to make choices that align with our values, even when emotions try to lead us astray. When we prioritize reason, we stay true to our principles and make decisions that reflect who we truly are. For instance, let's say you're faced with a difficult decision at work. Perhaps you're offered a promotion, but you know that accepting it would require compromising on your work-life balance. The emotional pull of ambition may push you toward accepting the offer, but reason would help you pause and reflect on what truly matters to you in the long run. By choosing to prioritize reason, you make a decision that aligns with your values and well-being, rather than succumbing to the emotional urge for success at any cost. The Stoics believed that emotions like anger, fear, and jealousy are often rooted in false beliefs or misinterpretations of reality. For example, anger often arises when we perceive an injustice, but Stoicism teaches that we cannot control other people's actions, only our own reactions. By using reason, we can challenge these false beliefs and reframe our understanding of the situation. Instead of reacting with anger, we can choose a more measured response, understanding that the only thing within our control is our own mindset and behavior. Seneca, one of the prominent Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the importance of controlling our emotions and using reason to guide us. He argued that anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Emotions like anger or frustration may feel justified in the moment, but they can ultimately harm us in the long run, clouding our judgment and leading to actions we later regret. Reason, on the other hand, allows us to act in ways that are not only more beneficial in the moment, but also contribute to our overall peace of mind and happiness. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of emotions, especially with the constant stream of information, social media, and the pressures of modern life. Yet, the Stoics remind us that the most empowering response to life's challenges is not to act impulsively, but to pause, reflect, and choose our response with reason. By practicing this approach, we cultivate a sense of inner calm that allows us to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace and wisdom. Practicing reason over emotion doesn't mean suppressing our emotions or denying our humanity. It simply means not allowing our emotions to control us. Emotions are natural, but when we let them dictate our actions, we can make decisions that are not in our best interest. By embracing reason as our guide, we gain the clarity to make better choices, avoid unnecessary conflict, and ultimately lead a life more in line with our true values. To make this practice part of your daily life, try setting aside time each day to reflect on your emotional responses. When you feel anger, frustration, or fear, pause and ask yourself if these emotions are guiding you toward rational actions or if they are clouding your judgment. The more you practice this mindful approach, the more natural it will become to choose reason over emotion. By prioritizing reason over emotion, we regain control over our reactions and decisions, leading to greater peace of mind and self-mastery. This Stoic principle reminds us that, while we cannot always control the world around us, we can control how we respond to it. And that is where true power lies. As we come to the end of this exploration of Stoic principles, it's clear that these timeless teachings offer profound insights for navigating the challenges of modern life. Whether it's viewing obstacles as opportunities, practicing daily reflection, or prioritizing reason over emotion, Stoicism provides a practical framework for achieving inner peace, resilience, and a life aligned with our values. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we cannot control everything around us, but we can control how we respond. By learning to embrace impermanence, letting go of what we cannot change, and nurturing our inner peace, we free ourselves from the turmoil of unnecessary frustrations. We find strength in adversity, and through self-reflection, we continually evolve into better versions of ourselves. Ultimately, Stoicism isn't about denying our emotions or avoiding life's difficulties. It's about recognizing the power we have over our own minds. By shifting our focus from external circumstances to internal responses, we can transform our lives, not by changing the world around us, but by changing the way we approach and react to the world. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, and every moment becomes a chance to practice wisdom, patience, and resilience. As you move forward, remember the words of Epictetus. We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. By adopting the Stoic mindset, you can build a life rooted in strength, clarity, and purpose. One that is not swayed by the storms of life, but grounded in the peace and wisdom that come from within. Thank you so much for watching this video. I truly hope that the Stoic wisdom shared here has inspired you to reflect, grow, and embrace a more peaceful and resilient mindset. Remember, the journey to personal growth and inner peace is continuous, and each small step you take will bring you closer to the life you want to live. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to like, comment, and share it with others who might benefit from these insights. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on future content that can help you on your journey of self-improvement. Your support means the world, and it motivates me to keep creating valuable content for you. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Stay wise, stay strong.